Hey there, everybody in the FFB Global Facebook group. Garrett's here today with another Ask an Old Mog question, and this one comes to us from one of the members who was posting about what types of TMRs and STMRs are good to try and get duplicates of. Now I'm going to expand this question a little bit and not just address that one directly, because I would like to talk a little bit about how I evaluate what TMRs I really want to hang on to, what I want to get multiples of. In terms of like how I build for units and trials, and what I find useful ways to try and spend my resources. Because for a long time, Trust Moogles and STMR tickets for those Moogles were really uncommon, and so I used to hoard and hoard and hoard, and I would be really cautious about what I spend them on. At this point in the game, I've got so many from playing for such a long time that I just kind of casually throw them away. Even the STMR Moogles, like if I decide, oh, there's a unit that I just haven't gotten a whole lot of and I really want to get an extra copy of, or if I get a new Neo Visions unit that I really want a second copy of their STMR, I'll go ahead and use a Moogle on them before I shard them. But not all of them are worth it, and we're going to take a look at like kind of how I got some feedback from some other people as well about how we make those kind of decisions. So let's take a look and see what we got. So we're looking at my team of units here, and here's the question and who it came from. So Chris asks us, if you were to have a second STMR, for which unit would it be? And he says, no counting Aerith or Tifa. So we're going to take a look and see. I look at the general answer here. I always try to focus on a TMR or an STMR that's going to do one of three things. One, it's either going to do something that's going to benefit multiple units in a variety of roles or a variety of content. So it's going to be widely usable by a lot of different units. If it's going to be able to be used in a bunch of different trials, or a bunch of different units are going to be able to put it on and get benefit out of it, then sure, it's worth a Moogle for me. Number two, if it does something unique to a powerful unit that you need to clear something specific or reach a new tier of power. So I'm going to show you some examples of things that I felt like were really worth investing a Moogle in. Maybe not necessarily having multiple copies of, but are worth spending that Moogle on, especially if you just don't have enough copies to like fuse them together and make your own. The last one is number three, that it just provides a benefit that you can't otherwise recreate. There are some Trust Master rewards and Super Trust Master rewards that you just can't recreate with anything else. And for those, sometimes it's really worth grabbing multiple copies of it. And we'll take a look at a handful here as we go ahead. So some really specific examples, and I've got them equipped to a bunch of my units here. Killer materias are a really easy one to look at. So killers are obviously very important. They just multiply your damage, and anytime you can get a killer materia in the form of a TMR or an STMR that either provides multiple killers or really high level damage of killers, it's going to be very much so worth it to have multiple copies. For example, if you're trying to have multiple chain units that can each have 300% in demon and machine, you're going to need a bunch of materia that's going to help you do that. And so some really good killer examples, STMRs are like Noel, Lunera, Cindy, Wild Rose Furion are the four that kind of came to mind for me. The next types that I'm really interested in are defensive ones. So these are going to be materias that either A, provide you multiple elemental resists to try and help you piece together a team that has like a lot of different resistances to a lot of different elements, or provide you like a wide range of stuff. So like defense, spirit, and HP, that's super valuable for tanks. A bunch of ailment resists and element resists, very valuable. So like my picks here were like Renoa's, Zargabath, and Epsilon Star Nicole, because those provide you with either high amounts of multiple resistances for different elements, or a mixture of defense, HP, spirit. And sometimes it's worth it. Like you're already capped on attack and you just want to get more bulk. Throwing on Judge's Oath can be a really easy way to just kind of round out a character. So Zargabath is good for that. Offensive ones are a little harder because they're, a lot of units that are built for attack already have really high attack percentages, so you don't necessarily need, tons and tons of really high level offensive stuff usually. But some really good attack-based ones are going to be like Roberta's STMR. Good to have multiple copies of, even though the side benefit of it is that it does jump damage, but it also does, a really high percentage. 70% is nothing to sneeze at. Itachi's another one. Itachi's does 80% attack, and gives you bonuses, to your true dual wield stat. So that's good too. Lively Steward Shinju's, her shoes, it's an accessory, and I'll show you here. They do really high attack and give you a really high attack percentage. Now, these last two unique ones, or unit-specific ones, these are not necessarily ones that I think are worth having multiple copies of, but are definitely worth investing in if you just don't have enough copies to fuse together to make one, or you don't want to wait for their Neovision one. Lunafreya 5-star, Unileska, and Neovision Cloud. These are unique because these are just materias and abilities that just cannot be recreated by any other means, and I'll show you what I mean in just a second. Now the unit-specific ones, these are ones that you definitely want to have either multiples of because they're just that good, or because in order to build certain units, you want to have multiple copies of. So like Sephiroth, it's hard to argue with having the strongest attack equipment in the game. So if you can get multiple copies of it, why wouldn't you? Rakish Thief Zidane's, his daggers are best in slot for Zidane's Neovision form. Same's true with Crown Prince Noctis's STMR. It's the ultimate weapon, or the ultimate blade. It's best in slot for Arden. It's best in slot for Neovision's Noctis. And then you said not to talk about Tifa and Aerith, but let's be real about this. Tifa's STMR, when you equip it, it just gives flat stat boosts to multiple units, and so they're super good. They're best in slot for those units, so why wouldn't you want to get those? Aerith's as well. So I do have some of those items equipped on some of my units here, and we can take a look right now. So if I go into my units, I mentioned Cloud, his Master of Fate ability. It is 200% to true dual wield, true double hand rather. Nothing recreates that, so it's really good to have on units when you're trying to build them up with true double hand. This is Noel's The Last Guardian, 80%. 75% machine killer, 75% dragon killer. Nothing recreates that. It's super valuable. It gives you bonuses to different enemy types, and a really, really high attack stat. Very good. Here's the ultimate blades I was talking about. When you equip it to any of these units, you get LB damage 50%. And where is it? Why can't I find it? Oh, you get the jump damage, you get the LB damage, and I felt like there was something else you get as well, but I'm not seeing it right now. But either way, these are unique. They're extremely high attack for Arden and Crown Prince Noctis. You want those for them. Zidane is the other example. When you equip it to them, you get true dual wield. You get 400% attack right there, or 400 flat attack added. So 2 of these is really good for him. In fact, I think that's where I'm probably going to see it. If I go back to Arden here. Where is it? Yeah, here we go. Flat attack, 350. So having 2 of these, you get, I'm not good at math, 700 flat attack that get boosted by all of your percentages. So super good to have 2 of these, right? That's why I've got 2. So Lunafreya here has some of the ones I was talking about. Duty to the World is 5-star Lunafreya's. Nothing reproduces this. All these element resists and 50% evocation damage. Very, very good. Originator of the Final Summoning. This is Unileska's. Magic 60%, evocation 40%. And parameter boost when setting espers. And evocation damage boost. So like nothing recreates that. There's nothing in the game that recreates that. So having that, at least one, you can only equip 1 at a time, but if you have 2 evokers in your team, having 2 of those is super, super valuable. This is one of the best in slot materials for every evoker in the game right now. The other one I wanted to show you, Sephiroth, right? Best attack stat on a clothing, and it happens to give him 500 flat attack. Cannot beat that. Sephiroth also gives him null stop. Null stop is exceedingly good on multiple units because there's lots of them that don't have it, and when you need it, you need it. So having multiple copies of this extremely good armor is very, very valuable. Worth a TMR or an STMR Moogle to get it if you have multiple copies of Sephiroth. This Nomad's necklace, this is one that's not even on my list. This is Skies. Multiple killers and jump damage boost. Nothing can recreate that, so having multiple is very good, on top of the fact that it's a very high attack stat on an accessory. So that's kind of the gist of it. You know, I'm trying to, when you're looking at what you want to invest in, you want things that are going to be useful to you in a number of ways. I'm going to go back to this here. Either multiple units in a variety of roles and content, does something unique, or provides a benefit that you otherwise can't recreate. So I am really curious to see what any of you guys might think about what are some of your favorites that you might pick for, you know, I would definitely want to have multiple of these. I did poll a couple of people and grab some ideas, but, you know, share what your opinion is as far as like how you make that decision. If your opinion is different from mine, that doesn't make me wrong. It doesn't make you wrong. Doesn't make me right or you right. You know, this is, you know, there's lots of ways to play this game. There's lots of stuff you could theoretically invest in. There's no one way to do anything, and so kind of evaluating for yourself, you know, how am I doing that? What am I picking? What am I focusing on? Can very much so be, you know, up to you. There are definitely some abilities and equipment that you could like choose to focus in that would maybe not be super ideal, but you know, a handful of good ones here that we went over in this this video. So if you are one of those people who watches this and you're like, man, I really I want to have a conversation about, you know, X, Y, and Z, you know, feel free to drop a comment on this post, or if you happen to see this on YouTube, drop a comment there, and I'm happy to try and go over something in more detail in a video form. I really am enjoying looking at you guys' posts and trying to find something useful to talk about. Thanks again to Chris for letting me, you know, use his question today, and gonna go over in greater detail kind of my thought process for how I choose what I'm going to invest in as far as abilities and items and stuff like that. So see you guys around in the group and in the game, and I hope you all have a really great evening and tomorrow.